Welcome back, everyone. I'm lead trainer with Stocks Trade, Tim Bohen. Today we're going to be talking about stock trading tools and technologies for 2024. So, real quick, maybe you know my bio, maybe you don't. Always been a technology guy. Actually, got my first computer, I think, in first grade, a TI 99 4A. Google that, man. They were amazing. Hunt the Wumpus was a great game. You know, I've always been a technology. I've always been interested in, this is the early 80s, very early 80s. And I don't know why. I grew up on a farm in rural Michigan. There were no computers, but I always was just infatuated with it. Actually became the IT guy of my entire school district in the second grade. Now, keep in mind, we had 3 computers, 3 Apple IIs in the entire school district, but I knew how to load Oregon Trail, which made, and it sounds sarcastic, but the teachers, they're like, we have this Apple II, how do we make it do something? I knew how to put the disk in, close the door, and go to the command prompt and load Oregon Trail. They didn't know how to do that, okay? But, so I was borderline the IT guy all the way through school. Even when we got more equipment, et cetera, I was basically the apprentice for the computer teacher and the technology teacher, and then started a business, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, the point is I've always had a love of technology and trading and stocks. Going back to the elementary school, I would wait for Dad to bring home the newspaper so I could look at tickers in the newspaper. I don't know why, but so what's cool is I'm 50 years old now, and I get to do everything that I love, like in my professional life. So sold the business a few years ago, went into full-time trading about a decade ago, started working with Stocks to Trade about 8 years ago. So now I get to do the fun stuff. I get to use technology, create technology with the development team, artificial intelligence and AI. We're going to talk about that. And then I get to teach others. Like one of the favorite things of my technology business was, we were, especially in the early days, we were bringing the first computers, this is the early 90s, first computers to homes and businesses. And it was fun, showing people how to send an email, how to print something out, how to design a doc in Word, or how to run a spreadsheet. Again, I know this dates me, but you show people how to do a business budget in a spreadsheet versus an adding machine or paper. It's whoa, it updates automatically. So anyway, it was always, that was the fun part of that, was improving businesses' processes and efficiency and getting people to get excited about technology. So anyway, enough bio. So let's talk about 2024. Actually, let's back up a little bit. So algos, trading algos, really hit mainstream and particularly penny stocks late 2015, 2016. Now, if you've watched previous videos, or especially the podcast, we wrapped up the podcast a year or so ago, but we had a great run, 200 episodes, about 4 years. You'll know that a lot of what we focused on was the market shift in 2015 and 2016, when we went from very short bias to very long bias. Actually, our most successful podcast of all time, I'll have the video team link it, is with JJ VWAP Trader. I think it's episode 179, my favorite episode. I think it's got 300,000 or 400,000 views. It's crazy for a small trading podcast. But we talked about the shift in the markets when I recognized that it was much more difficult, much more risky to short sell after a decade of short selling. And the reason is algos took over. So what algos did in that time period is they started recognizing that they could basically detect short squeezes. They could look at what the float is, what the outstanding shares is, what the volume is, and what the price action is, and they could actually run short squeezes, as we call it. And especially when they could actually create that dip and rip pattern we look for a short squeeze. So the algos actually run the stock up in pre, yank the bid, let it pull in at the market open, which attracts the short sellers, and then they just step back in on the bid, run it up, squeeze the shorts, sell into the rip, and they do it over and over again. And that's been the number one trading pattern, especially morning day trading pattern, for basically 8 and almost 9 years now, once we go into 2024. So algos emerged, and we launched the Oracle algo about 6 months after I started recognizing that in 2015, 2016. It's a long time ago. I got to look up the time frame, but I was like, this is what's happening. The low float stocks don't collapse like they used to. They go much further, and they trade so much more volume. Like I think of that first decade, if you had a low float stock that traded 2 million shares, it was like, holy cow. Like now, 200 million, a billion. We've seen billion shares traded not infrequently in these, $2, $3, $4 stocks. That never happened my first decade. So these algos started running them, and then we created the Oracle algorithm to detect that, to spot those dip and rips, to spot entries, exits, stop losses, and goals. Now, I bring that up because that Oracle algorithm is included in the daily income trader system. We use it every single day. There's a link below that says check out the daily income trader system. It's 100% free, in-depth, live webinar. I appreciate you being here on this YouTube video. Obviously, it's not live. What you can do is you can jump on those live webinars and see Oracle in action. We actually call the afternoon webinar Oracle in action, where you actually see it working. We also have recently just launched a dip and rip algo indicator as well that looks for a slightly different chart pattern and a slightly different time of day. We're working on an afternoon VWAP hold, etc. So we've got all of these algos, and Oracle's been around for, again, 7 years now. #1 stock trading algo out there. And we specifically created it to fight back against the hedge funds and the HFTs and these boutique shops that I talked about on that podcast. Watch that podcast when you get a sec. Episode 179. So then the next is, obviously, algos are, in my opinion, the foundation. I think that they have changed the market and they're not going anywhere. I think that, like, if you're not trading with an algo right now, you're truly bringing a knife to a gunfight. Like, I can't imagine, and many of you know that you're on the webinars or maybe on pre-market prep. Like, if you're on pre-market prep, that's that free YouTube I do every Monday morning. You know, what do? I basically exclusively use Oracle. Like, I don't even look at other scans, like traditional scans. I'm like, why would I do it the old way when I have this tool that allows me to do it the new way? So if you've been on pre-market prep, you know. Check out the daily income trader system. You'll see it live even more. Then the next is AI. It's inevitable. It's coming. Hopefully the robots don't kill us and eat our brains, but they probably will. I'm 50 years old. I plan to live to 125. So hopefully the robots don't kill us for at least another 75 years. I wish my kids the best. Hey, man, at some point, you got to leave the nest. You can't always be protected by the old man. I wish you the best against the robots. So because of that, we've recently launched Iris. Iris is pretty crazy, and I'll save a little time because you can also see it in the daily income trader system, but it's a large language model. So if you're familiar with like ChatGPT, you know what large language models are and what chatbots are. Like, you can ask it, hey, tell me a story about Shakespeare meeting, Albert Einstein, okay? And it will actually write you a story of Shakespeare meeting Albert Einstein. So what we did with now, you know, or you may not know, if you ask ChatGPT, give me stocks to trade, it'll be like, I can't, see real-time information. Or if you're asking like, hey, should I buy Apple? It'll spit back, I don't know about trading stocks, blah, blah, blah. It just gives you default stuff. What we did with Iris is I actually did a bunch of webinars going over how to swing trade stocks. Swing trade volatile stocks that can make you big gains in a short period of time. Then what the developers did, I'm not a coder, I'm a tech guy, but I'm not a coder. They actually text-to-speech all those webinars, hour-long webinars, a boatload of them, and then fed them into this large language model. So now what Iris can do is actually, you give it a ticker or you give it a scan. You can ask it to scan for stocks, but if you give it a ticker, and it will actually look at the news, the sector, the filings, the chart history. Like, it knows how to read charts. It's crazy. And it will actually give you a rating from 1 to 10 on whether it considers it a good trade or a bad trade. And basically anything above a 7, we consider a trade. And this is a cool thing too. Like, for a lot of you that are new, it actually then looks at the chart. Many of you might have heard about technical analysis, how to trade the chart. Hopefully you know or are learning technical analysis. It looks at levels on the chart, multiple time frames, and gives you entries, exits, stop losses, and goals. Then goes as far as to map out a risk management plan based on your position size. It's nuts. It's crazy. Like for me, especially because it was my experience and knowledge to train the thing, I drop tickers in and it spits out this like 2-page report. And it's like I wrote it. It's kind of, it's exciting, kind of weird sometimes too. So anyway, that's where we're at, okay? Our algos and AI, algos and AI, algos and AI. If you're doing it the old way, I wish you the best, but I think you're going to struggle. So what's the best way to get the best tools going into 2024? Check out those free webinars, 6 times a day, every day of the week, even on weekends, morning all the way through to night. Click that registration link, pick a time that works for you. It's just a live tour. You don't have to do anything. You can interact, you can ask questions. Remember, there is Q&A, but you can just watch and see the tools and see what they do. I would to me, if you're at all serious about trading, it's a no-brainer. It's free, it's live, and it's all through the day and weekends. Find a time that works for you, take notes, and take advantage of it.